Hello and welcome back to Miss Ma's Advanced Functions class. This is part 2 of 9.5, the compositions of functions. If you haven't watched part 1, please click here. Otherwise, we are going to start example C and D. Here we go. Okay, let's try example C. If f of x equals 1 over x plus 2, find f of f inverse and f inverse of f. The first thing we need to do, of course, is find f inverse, and just in case you forget, we do just switch the x and the y. So this is y equals 1 over x plus 2, so we're going to switch it. It's going to be x equals 1 over y plus 2, and we're going to isolate for y. So we're just going to do the reciprocal of both sides. And then we are going to move that 2 over, so it's 1 over x minus 2 is equal to y, so that's f inverse of x. And now we can find f of f inverse. So f of f inverse is going to be f of 1 over x minus 2. And f of x, remember, is 1 over x plus 2. So it's, instead of writing x, I'm writing this, plus 2. Like this. Of course, the 2's are going to cancel, so I get 1 over x, which ends up being x. And this is actually true for any f of f inverse. Whatever f of x is, if it's a function, then f of f inverse will always be equal to x. However, we do have to remember the x can't be in the bottom unless it's not 0, so we do have to write that restriction in here when we find f of f inverse, okay? So f of f inverse is x, where x is not equal to 0. If we want to do f inverse of f, this is going to be f inverse of 1 over x plus 2. So we'll write that in, 1 over x plus 2 minus 2. That's what f inverse was. So is that right? Did I do that wrong? 1 over x. Oops. So it should be 1 over, my bad. 1 over x plus 2 minus 2. So it's because it's 1 over x minus 2. And so 1 over, we can't have x be negative 2, but we can then flip it over like this. So x plus 2 minus 2, and it also ends up being x. So this is something that is always true for f inverse and f, that f inverse of f of x will equal f of f inverse of x, and it will always be x. Okay? So this is a true statement that you can take to the bank, or whatever. Okay? So if we wanted to find the domain of f inverse, we know that it's going to be the domain x in R, such that x is not equal to, and we see that already, it's not equal to 0, but we also have to put in the restriction of f of x, which is that x cannot equal to negative 2. Okay? So make sure that you do both of those whenever you do the domain. And I just want to talk about f of x, which is 1 over x plus 2 as a composition, because this is actually a composition of functions. Even though we've learned it as a reciprocal function, it's actually two functions put together, right? We could consider it to be 1 over x, and the other function to be x plus 2. So we replace the x with x plus 2, and that's how we get it, right? So if I wanted to think of it, f of x is equal to g of h of x, then the inner function is this one, and the outer function is this one, right? And we can think of it that way. And so there are a lot of functions that we look at that are actually compositions. So we're just going to practice it a little bit. So why don't you pause the video and try these on your own. I'm just going to go ahead and do them. But you want to write down what f of x is and what g of x is, and that's about it. And then we'll be done with this video. So hopefully you pause the video, and I'm just going to write the answers. F of x is the outside, so it's absolute value x, and g of x is equal to x cubed plus 1. Now, you might have a totally different answer. Well, not a totally different answer, but a somewhat different answer. For example, if someone wrote f of x is equal to x, absolute value x plus 1, and g of x is equal to x cubed, that is totally fine. So, you might get different answers than I'm going to get right now, but that's okay. Just make sure that it is the right answer, like that it's a valid answer, okay? So g of f of x, so it's backwards. So f of x is the inner function. F of x is equal to sine x. And the outer function g of x is equal to log base 2 of x. For this second last one, the inner function g of x is 5x minus 3, and the outer function f of x is 2 to the x. So wherever you see that inner function, you just replace it with x for your outer function. And f of g of x, again, the inner function g of x is x cubed minus 4x plus 6, and f of x we can say is root x. Okay? And that's all you have to do. Okay, so basically in this video what we did was we talked about the composition of functions, how to find the domain and range of those, and we talked about the composition of f and f inverse, and also f inverse and f, which ends up being x. And that's about it, so I hope you enjoyed it. Bring any questions you have to class, and I will see you soon. Bye!